Welcome back to Man vs Squirrel, the series where a small group of furry mammals embarrass me with their intellect and physical ability. In the last video, we posed a variety of challenges, most of which the squirrels broke. These challenges primarily demonstrated how much I had underestimated what they were capable of. By the end of the last video I was 6 points down. I do have a bigger project in the pipeline to test these critters, and that will be coming out soon. But for now, I decided to continue the experiments to get an understanding of what works and what doesn't. To begin, I wanted to let the squirrels loose on a slack line. Between the climbing wall and a nearby birdhouse now stands a seriously elasticated piece of string with food hanging in the middle. I felt it would be interesting to see if the squirrel would be brave enough to hang from this rope. Unfortunately, the tail end of British summer proved a challenging time for recording, but the skies cleared and it wouldn't be long before a squirrel arrived to investigate. Just like last time, the squirrel finds a workaround I somehow missed. The drawback to a slack rope is that it is, well, pretty slack and too easy to reel in. I didn't want to give up at the first hurdle, so I reattached the food to the centre of the string to see if I could coax the squirrel out a little bit further. The squirrel took the bait, but at first it seemed like it might be too much of a stretch for the little guy. I couldn't tell if he just couldn't see it very well, so I added a loop to catch their eye. Of course, it wouldn't take long before they found a solution. It is all a learning process for me, so I am grateful for all these little tests, because it means when I finally come to build the bigger challenges I know what to avoid, and clearly I can skip the slack line. It is still my goal to see one of them dangling from a slack line, being thrown about by the breeze, but I will have to take this back to the drawing board. Now, I did have an idea for another challenge, but first I needed to get around how to mount the food. So in order to solve that problem, I made the grabber. A block with 4 pieces of super strong bamboo to hopefully protect against cheating. The food just needs to be slid out of the end. But would the squirrel be able to figure that out? As we can see, one of the main drawbacks to using bamboo to protect against vandalism is it just becomes a nice seat for the squirrel. With that figured out, it would just be a matter of brute force to get the food out. At least this confirmed the squirrel can absolutely figure out how to get the food from the grabber. So now, on to the next challenge. Using a combination of that same bamboo and a few picture hooks, I was able to throw together the swing. While the dream would be to get the squirrel to sit on this, merrily swinging away, I would just settle for beating the squirrel just once and getting a point for myself. At least I was safe in the knowledge that this would prove somewhat challenging. The instability combined with the challenge of pulling the food out of the grabber at the end. Would this be the one to prove too difficult? At this point I'm embarrassed that I didn't foresee this outcome, but I think a quick redesign is in order before I give away the point. Not only was the swing too easy to reach, but the fact that you could just reach down and lift it up made this far too easy. I built a taller frame for the swing to hang from, well away from the older obstacles, and I double jointed the bamboo to make it much more difficult to reel in. You may also notice that I initially built it with the same floor as the first attempt, but then I turned the swing sideways, so this should hopefully eliminate the easiest solution. In hindsight, I think the extra joints actually made this easier than I'd envisioned. But this is a point well earned for the squirrel. To reward them for all the hard work and to celebrate this spooky time of year, I decided to give the little cuties a nice reward in the form of a pumpkin filled with goodies. No points up for grabs of this one, it's just a nice treat and no real challenge. I set the camera rolling and put the pumpkin out on the steps, which ended well. Even when it's not a challenge, they still find a way to cheat. Anyway, enjoy this collection of squirrel clips slowly destroying my pumpkin, and I'll see you again soon for the bigger challenge.
Perfect.